Hey guys, welcome back to NFL Week 2 Power Rankings. We're going to go through, score predictions actually, but we're going to look at each game. We're going to talk about it for a bit, and then I'll reveal who I think will win and what I think the score will be all at the same time. So I'm hoping that you're hyped. I know we're kind of close to the Thursday night game tonight, but I do what I have to do. I had a lot of stuff going on and it as fast as I possibly can. We got a lot of stuff going on the channel, so if you like NFL, might as well go ahead and subscribe. All right, moving on. The first game, we're going to start off with Thursday night, going to end off on Monday night. So first game, we have Browns versus Bengals. This is actually a pretty good game because right now, both of these teams, I guess really only the Browns severely underperformed last week. The Bengals, their kicker missed a field goal they really should have made. Really, the Bengals, they should have won that game. So, really, I feel like they played pretty well, but they weren't expected to do much. And the Browns, kind of the same thing, but I think they're expected to do more than the Bengals. You kind of catch what I'm trying to say. So, what I'm trying to say here is that this is a pretty good game because, really, whoever loses this is probably, at the end of the season, going to be at the very bottom of the AFC North. Because think about it. These two teams are probably the teams that are on the bottom right now, as of now. So if the Bengals beat the Browns, that probably shows, okay, they're the better team. They might have a chance possibly to fight for a playoff spot maybe towards the end of the season. And whoever loses this game is probably going to, end up being at the bottom. Now, of course, this doesn't, for all we know, they could end up going 0-2 and then win the rest of the games. But still, it is a pretty important game. But I think that the Bengals will win. Joe Burrow, he looked very good last week, and I think that now that they've seen what he can do, they'll probably start letting him, throw some more plays. And I feel like he's a pretty good quarterback. And I feel like maybe he'll, throw for a couple touchdowns. And they do have, freaking Joe Mixon on that running back unit. It's just, you look at the Browns, and they have lots of talent, but they keep on underperforming, and then Jarvis Landry is questionable. Odell Beckham Jr. wants out, and it's just not looking good. I see them, of course, those two guys are still going to be on the team when this game rolls around, probably. Oh, most definitely, unless they make a trade like an hour before the game starts. But, really, it's, I just see that. Definitely the Browns could win, but I just see the Bengals coming out of here with a win. All right, now going up Titans versus Jaguars. The Jaguars completely shocked me last week. Really, they came out all guns firing. Freaking Gardner Minshew had 19 out of 20 passing. You know what I'm saying? And he had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He looked amazing. Freaking James Robinson, the rookie running back, was a freak. You can kind of tell why they dropped Leonard Fournette. Really, the Jaguars, they're looking pretty good. Of course, it was just week 1, so we can't really overreact here yet. And the Titans looked a bit sloppy, probably because they didn't have a preseason. I think once they actually get into things, they'll probably start winning a lot more games. So I think in the end, the Titans are the better team, and I want to have them taking on a pretty close game here with the Jaguars. Later in the season, this would have been a better game, but I think it'll take the Titans a bit to get rolling. They have I think they get a couple wins here early before they get rolling and kind of get a bit lucky. The Jaguars, I think week 1, honestly, I think it was a bit of a fluke. I do think they're going to be better than a lot of people thought they were, but I don't think they will be that good every week. If they do manage to beat the Titans, that would shock a lot of people, including me. But again, I guess it could happen. I'm looking here. It's only a 4-point difference, so we'll see. Moving on, we have the Buccaneers versus the Panthers. This one, both of these teams lost last week, but the Buccaneers, they were playing up against the Saints. They managed to score 23 points. They let up 34 points, though. Tom Brady missed throw after throw, 2 interceptions. It really was just sad. The Panthers, though, their offense kind of impressed me. They really should have handed it to Christian McCaffrey a couple times, and they didn't. Teddy Bridgewater, he missed some throws that he shouldn't have. Again, so... but again, the Buccaneers, they were playing against the Saints, who are one of the best teams in the league right now. And I do think that they are able to beat the Panthers by 2 scores. I just think that I think they really need to, get Tom Brady in there. They need to figure out, is he going to be their starter next year, or is this going to be the end of his career? I don't know. All right, moving on. Steelers versus, I was kind of freaking out there. Someone was calling me. Steelers versus Broncos. The Steelers, did you hear that, what's it called? Big Ben actually said after the game last week, he said that after the game, he felt like he had just gone into a car crash, like he was in pain, and that is not good. But we're just going to hope that, he can push on through and win a couple more games. Because, Juju completely looked great last week. Freaking James Conner underperformed, but still, their offense looked great. They really got rolling in that second half. Their defense, they didn't do too well. The Giants were able to move the ball, but I guess they did good enough. The Broncos are kind of like a similar team to that. They do still have a second-year quarterback who isn't doing too well. They got beat by the Titans. So I'm just going to say that the Steelers win this game pretty close, a 1-point difference there. I really can see the Broncos pulling out a win here. They do have Jerry Jeudy, who had a couple good plays, Melvin Gordon even. So, yeah, I definitely see this being a pretty close one, but I still think that Steelers will be able to take it by 1 point. I have the Eagles versus the Rams. This is going to be a very, very good game. We have the Rams, whose defense dominated the Cowboys, which isn't really saying much, but still, they did dominate. And their offense did pretty well too. The Eagles, though, their offensive line collapsed last week. They did terribly, and Washington just completely outplayed them, and that's that. So, really, it's kind of like you got the team that crushed the Cowboys, and you got the team that got crushed by Washington. The Eagles, if they get their offensive line up to par, maybe they'll have a pretty tough time beating the Rams. But right now, I just see the Rams just kind of, shutting them down. Unless they can, I don't know what they could do, but I just see them letting up more points than they gave to Washington and scoring less than they scored on Washington. So, yeah, 28-10, the Rams smashed them and kind of cement the fact that they are a very good team and that they will be heading for the deep postseason at the end of this season. Moving on to the next game, we have Jets versus the 49ers. You saw the Jets last week completely terrible. They did score a couple touchdowns late. Jamison Crowder had a great play. But really, with freaking Le'Veon Bell on IR, you're going to have to... Frank Gore's pretty good, but still, you'd rather have Le'Veon Bell. 49ers, they lost, but they still play pretty well. I definitely think that they, kind of like the Titans did, I think that they will get better as the season goes on. I think it was just kind of like sloppy first week. Really, it was no question. I think that the 49ers will win this one, but seeing as how kind of badly they played last week and the fact that the Jets were able to score 17 points on that tough Bills defense, I'm gonna say that it is a one-score game. It's an 8-point game. 27-19 is the score that I am predicting. The 49ers are going to win this one. Moving on to the next one, we have Dolphins versus the Bills. Dolphins... what they did, they were not very good on Sunday. The Patriots kind of just walked all over. And the Patriots, we'll get to that later, but they didn't actually play how I thought they would. I thought they'd play a bit better than they did. I know they scored 21 points, but still I thought they'd score way more. So the Dolphins, they only scored 11 points on that pretty good defense. But the Bills, though, completely demolished the Jets. Looked great last week. And I'm still going to have to give it to the Bills. Really, just 31-13, an 18-point win. The Dolphins, they get a couple extra points, 2 more points, but they just let up like crazy. I'm sorry, Dolphins, but when Tagovailoa gets in there, that is when things will get going. Moving on, we have the Colts versus the Vikings. This could potentially be a pretty good game, or it could be a blowout in either direction. I don't really see it being, it's whatever. Phillip Rivers, he didn't play too well last week, but again, week one, he looked good at the very beginning. That opening drive looked great. They got to get going. They're going up against a pretty weak defense, as we saw last week. The Vikings let up a lot of points. Their defense, it's pretty good. The Vikings offense, it popped off last week, so it'll be interesting to see if they can do it again this week. I can kind of see this being like a high-scoring game, but in the end, I'm going to have to hand it to the Vikings really by 11 points. I feel like that they are going to be able to score a lot. The Colts managed to get more points than they did last week. I feel like that Phillip Rivers kind of starts to get going later in the game too. It's going to take the Colts maybe like a half of a season to actually get him in there just because he is so used to the Chargers. So yeah, I'm going to have the Vikings getting their first win of the season, and the Colts knocked down to 0-2. Now we have Packers versus Lions. The Packers really look like a top tier team. Aaron Rodgers looked like he did 5 years ago. He looked spectacular, making passes left and right. Devontae Adams he got 42 fantasy points. He was insane. I mean, really, this offense is unstoppable. And then you saw what they did last week. The Lions, they got cocky. They let the Bears come back from, what was it, like 18 points below? I don't know. But they got, I mean, that was I think it was 17 points actually. So I just don't see the Lions being able to beat this game. They score less points. They allow more. Yeah, I mean, the Packers, I don't think they're going to have such as an amazing performance that they had in week 1. That might be like one of the 2 games that they score more than 40 points. But still, I still see them scoring a lot of points, and I still see them whooping the Lions by 2 scores. Next up, we have the Cowboys versus the Falcons. This is going to be a pretty good game. We have the Cowboys, who kind of got exposed last week. They're probably going to, I mean, we've seen them. They've gone 8-8, 7-9, 9-7, like in every season these past couple years, and I don't see that changing this year. And the Falcons are kind of still in that area. The Falcons did pretty well against the Seahawks defense. 450 passing yards from Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley with over 100 yards. I mean, that offense was spectacular. The Cowboys, they also, I mean, that we always talk about how the Rams defense did really well, but the Cowboys were still moving the ball. They kept it close. They were moving down the field fairly easily. It's just the fact that the Rams really did hold up. So really in this game, I'm gonna have to give it to the Cowboys. A pretty close one here. But I just think that they have a better offense right now. I know the Falcons, they scored 450 yards last week. Whatever. I still think that the way they moved on the ball, they use Ezekiel Elliott so well. I just feel like the Cowboys will be able to score a lot on this pretty weak defense. Next up, we have the Bears versus Giants. Another pretty good game. I've seen a lot of people going either way. I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, well, the Bears are obviously going to win. And I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, well, the Giants are obviously going to win. Really, I'm kind of conflicted here because the Bears, that defense is pretty good, and they managed to, I mean, if they play the whole game this game like they did the fourth quarter of last week, this will be a blowout, no doubt. The Giants, like I said, they moved the ball pretty well against that Steelers defense. So I was kind of impressed with them. That defense, though, I'm not feeling it right now. The Bears, they just gotta keep it up right now. And I feel like after one game, I don't feel like the Bears can do that again. I feel like they probably get behind again, and they just can't make it up. The Giants, they get Daniel Jones' first win this season, and they win 28-24. Next up, we have Cardinals versus Washington. 2 teams that really got kind of surprise wins last week. The Cardinals really, I mean, Washington had the way more surprising win, but the Cardinals, they came out firing. DeAndre Hopkins was a madman. Kyler Murray with all kinds of rushing yards. Their offense looked unstoppable, but then again, they're going up against this Washington defense, which they probably have the best defensive line in football right now and will really be able to put pressure on Kyler Murray and kind of get him out of his zone, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like this is kind of a good matchup in Washington's favor, but I still do think that the Cardinals are a really good team. So while it is a good matchup in Washington's favor, they can keep it insanely close. You can see here, 28-27 win by the Cardinals. But still, I do think the Cardinals end up with the win at the end of the day. Maybe, Dustin Hopkins misses a field goal towards the end of the game that would put Washington on top or something. Who knows? But right now, I just feel like the Cardinals, this is going to be a really great game. I'm actually going to be able to watch it, which is pretty good. So, yeah, Washington manages to lose. Yep. Washington is the number 1 seed in the NFC right now. If they win again, and that would be insane. All right, now we have the Chargers versus the Chiefs. You saw the Chargers last week. Tyrod Taylor managed to take them to a win, but it was just barely with a pretty bad Bengals team. And then you're gonna go to the Chiefs. I don't really think anything else needs to be said. I'm just really gonna give it to the Chiefs, and I'm gonna say this is my lock of the week. The Chargers, they're not terrible, but then again, the Chiefs are amazing. They get beat by 20 points. They do manage to score 17, but I think that defense just starts letting up some more points there, and the Chiefs just go crazy. So yeah, it's my lock of the week. If there is any game that I think, I could see any other game being, of course I could see every game going the other way. I could definitely see the Chargers winning, but I definitely think the Chiefs are 100% going to win, if you know what I mean. Like, this is the game that I am most sure of. I don't know if I need to explain that to you anymore. All right, now we have the text. Sorry if let me just explain something. I'm sorry if I'm sounding like a little stuttery or whatever. This is my first weekly predictions video ever in the history of Carsonian Beans, so just be nice. And then we have the Texans versus the Ravens. I feel bad for the Texans. They lost DeAndre Hopkins, and then they have to go straight in, and they have to play the Ravens. I mean, really. They play the top two teams in the NFL. I don't know. I think in my power rankings most of the time I had the Chiefs on top, but still, it's a tie kind of there. So, I don't know, man. I see it kind of being like the same kind of game, but I still do think that the Ravens will win 30-23. The Texans' defense manages to kind of stop them a bit, but really I just feel like the Ravens kind of just go crazy here. The Texans, they are still a very good team. They just play the two hardest games right at the beginning. If they do manage to beat the Ravens, which I definitely could see happening if they really get Will Fuller in there and they make him into a DeAndre Hopkins type player, and they take this offense kind of like it was last year. I could see them definitely maybe pulling this one out. And even in my prediction, I only have them losing by 7, so anything could happen. Now, we have Sunday Night Football. We have Seahawks versus the Patriots. All right, now the Patriots, like I said, they kind of underperformed, but they did score 21 points. And then you look at this Seahawks defense. They did allow a lot of points to the Falcons, but then again, that offense went crazy. Russell Wilson making all kinds of plays. I just think that they are able to come out with the win here. The Patriots, they do end up scoring more. I do think that they kind of take advantage of the fact that the Seahawks defense, it has an amazing secondary, the Seahawks defense. But as we saw last year, the Patriots aren't really throwing the ball that much. Now, they may consider doing it now that they've seen that Cam is going to be Super Cam again and he is going to take off. They may actually start throwing the ball a bit more, but right now I just feel like this is a good matchup towards the Patriots' favor, and they keep it within 4. Moving on to the final game. Sorry if this video is long, and I'm sorry if you don't like it, but thanks for watching the whole thing anyways. So we have the Raiders versus the Saints. The one thing that I might say is going in the Raiders' favor is, 1, the fact that their offense looked pretty good, and 2, the fact that Michael Thomas is doubtful with an ankle injury. I have him in my fantasy league, and I'm so mad right now, but he is doubtful. And really, right now, it's not looking too good. Because if you look at the Saints, they don't have very much depth at wide receiver. They have Marcus Callaway and Deontay Harris as their backup wide receivers, and that's it. Those are all their wide receivers. So right now, it's like if Michael Thomas isn't in this, that's going to take away a big threat for the Saints. And the Raiders' defense might have this is definitely going to make the game easier. But you still have Emmanuel Sanders and Alvin Kamara, who we saw in this last game is a receiving weapon. They start throwing Alvin Kamara more, woo, they're going to take off. Drew Brees is very good. He will definitely find ways. The Raiders, Josh Jacobs was amazing last week. 3 touchdowns. Again, it was against the Panthers, but still. But I still do think that the Saints are able to win by 2 points. Before I heard the news of him being injured, I had the Saints winning 38-16. So I did take away some points there because of Michael Thomas being doubtful. If he is on the field, though, just look. So if you're keeping track of my predictions because for some reason you like to do that, just know that if Michael Thomas is playing, then my prediction is 38-16. But right now, I just feel like it's a 14-point win, and they should just be happy about that. All right, Thank you guys all so much for watching. We have a Twitter and Instagram. All that is in the description. I have a Patreon too, trying to start what's it called? I don't know. A podcast, that's what it's called. I swear not all my videos are like this. I normally am fluent in English when I talk. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like NFL stuff, you should probably go ahead and subscribe. We do stuff like this a lot. And during the offseason, we are doing daily NFL news show called the NFL Beans. So really, we keep you up to date on all the stuff going on. And if any news happens, I will make an NFL Beans video about it. So any of my guys who watch my videos and are wondering what happened to the NFL Beans, nothing has happened in the NFL that I felt like should be put on one of those videos. So, see ya in the next one.